Welcome to this course. We are taking this master class on leading the commercialization process. I'm not going to cover traditional technology transfer process because today R&D paradigm has changed. Technology development, innovation processes have undergone a sea change. So we are going to look at traditional paradigm of R&D and how it has evolved into a global networked innovation ecosystem. The traditional paradigm of industrial R&D involved primary mission of discovering and inventing, where scientists discovered new effect, invented new products and processes. And the function was fully managed by career professionals R&D, that is the scientist. Scientists led the effort and they thought they are the best leaders because they understand the science. And nobody else could take that position. They also felt they are the custodians of the future. They knew how the emerging science is taking shape, and they always felt they are underfunded. If they were given more resources, they could have done more, and they always asked for more and more budget. When we looked at commercialization of the research done by them, there are certain prerequisites. You had to see, are there markets for processes, products and services developed by them? Was there any need? Were there any gaps? Was the need identified or articulated? Or was there any latent need? The solution developed, was it techno-commercially viable? Because at the end of the day, companies need to make profits. Companies license profits and not the ideas. So R&D had to work with the right kind of partners. Those partners are either internal, like marketing, or externals. Some vendors are customers. So in order to succeed, you had to have an efficient R&D market interface, which very often was not very efficient, leading to failures. An effective R&D marketing interface requires forming project teams, which includes professionals from both research and marketing, flexible team structures or organization structures which handle development of new products, and a long-term strategy which ultimately benefited effective development of new products, a common budget for new product research, and long-term strategic marketing was the main requirement. And as the product or a process moved from one stage to another, you required a different level of, a different kind of leadership at every stage. If it was the discovery stage, scientists had to be in the lead. If it was closer to the customer, then the marketing people had to be in the lead. And one important point was that key R&D person must have some training in marketing so that they are able to appreciate customer needs. If you look at the current environment, R&D is more aligned to the business, where R&D strategy is driven by the business strategy, and there's a greater accountability of R&D. They have to justify return on their investment. There's increasing competition in the marketplace, which is global in nature. There's also premium on time. People who succeed are the people who bring the new product to the market the fastest. They also improve selectivity in terms of R&D projects and improve productivity of the resources deployed. Today, profits are determined by the ability to retain market shares based not only on the size but on product differentiation. Due to pace of change, there is a rapid technological obsolescence. So you need a faster technology renewal. Not only business is getting globalized, but also R&D is getting globalized. Globalization of R&D is taking place at 3 levels. The globalization of innovation across the countries. We see global production of R&D through overseas subsidiaries. There are international technology alliances which basically source R&D through joint ventures with foreign organizations. There is international exploitation of national technological capabilities whereby patents and licenses are issued across the geographical boundaries. So there are certain clear-cut trends in globalization of R&D. What we find is leading multinationals establish R&D units in all 3 regions of the triad. That is US, Europe and Japan. Not only in Japan, but in whole of the Southeast Asia, which includes Korea, China, Taiwan. There is a convergence of R&D practice amongst the leading industrialized countries, and research intensity of foreign-based production has increased because of the emergence of new technologies in materials, biotechnology, nanotechnology, electronics, and communication. Acquisition and mergers appear to be a significant factor behind this globalization. There is a concentration of R&D input resources and R&D output to certain regions and countries and companies. There is external and cross-border acquisition of technology among multinational corporations. And we clearly see a strengthening of links between university research and industrial R&D. Multinational corporations which had a hub kind of structure with a corporate R&D at the center and subsidiary R&D acting as a spoke, evolving into a network or a matrix-oriented organization structure. At the same time, when we look at the R&D institutions, whose traditional role was accumulation of basic knowledge, accumulation of new basic knowledge, and creation of human capital, and whatever the knowledge got generated, its application to new products and processes, and transfer of that knowledge to product enterprises. Under the emergence of new global R&D paradigm, what we find is globalization is taking place around the centers of excellence. And these centers of excellence are self-organizing themselves into innovation networks. So no longer it is just a technology transfer from these institutions to product to sector, but these institutions themselves are becoming learning organizations, learning from each other in the network. Academics, we always thought were in ivory towers, but they are now adopting an entrepreneurial culture, and institutions are incorporating economic and social development as a part of their missions, as it is evidenced by a number of startups and incubators, as well as innovation clusters of which they are part. What we are seeing is the technology supply chain is emerging. Initially, everything was being done in-house. But today, basic science happens at a certain place, maybe at academic institutions, national laboratories. Now that basic science, when it is married with a perceived market opportunity, is giving rise to a concept development. That concept development is examined, evaluated, and feasibility done at some second place. Product development follows, then application development, market development, customer process development, production, and then customer support. All these are becoming structured processes, and they are not necessarily taking place in the same organization. There are different actors involved. And as it moves from one step to another, one stage to another, the cost increases, but a lot of information flow keeps on happening from one stage to another, back and forth. And no piece of this supply chain can be missing. So today, there are challenges of global R&D. Challenge is not from low-cost producers, but from low-cost innovators. People who can manage this supply chain at the lowest cost. You need to gain quick access to growing global sources of innovation and rapidly integrate new technologies and new knowledge as it emerges into the products. Under this paradigm, we are finding the in-house R&D is under a constant pressure. There is no a priori need for internal R&D within any organizations. Other functional areas and senior management are not committed to market, sell, or manufacture internally developed products. It does not matter for them where the technology comes from. The sales and profits can equally come from products that are externally sourced, technologies that are externally sourced. So R&D groups have to compete directly with all the relevant technology available anywhere else in the world. So what we are seeing is global skill-based competition, where products are transient mechanisms through which market drives value from the organization's skills and organizations drive value from the market. So today, companies develop certain core capabilities and rest are acquired from wherever they are available best. So there is a new role for R&D. function. They need to manage innovation networks. This involves monitoring external developments and capabilities. Which organizations have what capabilities, and what is happening on the scientific development. So R&D organization has to become a repository for human-based expertise. And they need to access external technology. It is no longer a question of developing an internal technology. How to get external technology within the organization. For this, they need to assemble and manage those R&D networks. Dependence of external technology by the multinational corporations has increased from 15% to 25% in the last decade, and is anticipated to grow to 50%. So the new role for R&D is global technology sourcing. This will be by licensing of patents, technology acquisitions, a collaborative effort with the vendors, customers, joint ventures, and a strategic alliance with competitors, consortia and association activities with all the stakeholders, developing relationship with universities, industrial research laboratories, and national labs. There are certain strategies which R&D must adopt. These includes complement their internal R&D efforts by increased acquisition of external technology, entering into contractual R&D agreements with academic institutions, national labs, or commercial R&D companies, acquire proven technology, and also get involved into supply chain from fundamental research to application development. The expectations are that a new product development or a new technology development should be faster and cheaper. And there should be higher value addition than what if the development was done in-house. This is also expected to assist in recruiting prolific inventors and other technical resources. All this is expected to support the development of a market. How do you go about it? You need to identify what are your core competencies on which your competitive advantage is based, and what will guarantee the continuing viability of those competencies, and what will ensure leadership in those critical technologies. We cannot be complacent and depend only on those core competencies, because new technologies keep on emerging, and some of those technologies might supplant existing technologies, or some of the technologies may supplement them. The question comes, what must be acquired? Right from fundamental knowledge to development of prototypes, development of software, or evaluation and purchase of substances which may be chemical entities or biological entities for screening of their biological effects, say pesticide, or new and improved processes, purchase of technical services, or cooperation on strategic technologies are the examples where organizations need to be involved. When we talk about technology acquisition methods, they can be again varied from giving grants to universities to support education, sponsor PhD thesis and postdoctoral students, having mobility of the scientists from industry to research institutions, where industrial scientists are placed in research institutions and the research scientists are placed in industry. Contract R&D with national labs and industrial research institutions, purchasing proven technologies from research institutions, vendors, customers, and competitors, and participation in high-tech venture companies. See, what has happened is, over a period of time, companies have moved away from funding discovery research. They prefer to buy proven technology or acquire the startups which own those technologies. See, commercial risks are more than the technical risk. When startups are founded and managed by purely scientists. Technology business incubators come in handy as an instruments which facilitate technology transfer from higher education institutions and public research organizations, because they provide mentoring support on technical and financial matters. There are certain important key issues for the technology acquisition. You need to find a specific solution to specific problems, like finding a needle in a haystack. Again, when you get technology from outside, you should be able to validate the technology. A lot of claims are made very often about the new technology coming from outside. So R&D should be able to validate those claims. They must get actively involved. R&D scientists get their satisfaction by developing a new knowledge. So they may not have interest in acquisition of new knowledge. So companies need to introduce awards for acquisition of R&D rather than their own inventions. These are difficult and time-consuming exercises, and communications and connecting are very complex issues to master. Internal and external networks require continuity and the trust which goes beyond the organization boundaries. When there are external partners involved, concurrency issues come up and they need to be resolved. Communication over great distances and across cultural and language barriers has to be managed. With the advancement in information and communication technology, this is today less of a problem. In new territories, you can hire consultants who can find right partners. You also need champions to internally sell the concepts and manage your projects and get the funding. All this requires a technology acquisition organization. You need a specific solution to specific problems in a very short time. And you also have to manage work relationships often over great distances. This can be approached by interlinked networks in 2 tiers. You can have regional corporate technology acquisition managers or business-specific technology managers. In addition, you can have external technology scouts who will understand your needs and search for the partners. There are certain general principles which must be applied when sourcing technology externally. You must strategically partner with a limited number of well-established organizations which complement your internal technology base. For a specific well-defined technology needs, you may broadly solicit bids and reward those who deliver good results in a reasonable time frame. And expect those partners to be sensitive to your technology and business needs. Consortia, alliances, industry partnerships tend not to be effective unless there is a specific business needs and a business group which owns the problem. To maintain a win-win relationship, you require a sufficient funding and the person to stay close to developments taking place. So the critical success factors are: you require dedicated personnel to help develop partnerships and give consistent external presence in that ecosystems. You also need to coordinate internally within the organization with different functions and develop implementation skills. You must understand what you are willing to take outside and what keep inside. Certain core capabilities you may keep inside, rest you may seek an outside help. You need to identify sources of potential help and then establish colleague-to-colleague relationship as fast as possible. You need to strive for speedy results so that you can have some credibility internally within the organization. You may help university and government labs to focus on their true competencies and not spend their time in the marketplace. There needs a cultural change. We must understand that innovation is not necessarily being first. It can be ideas who are new to us. Our competitive advantage can come from design and implementation rather than from ideas. Very often we assume that we know about customers and what they need. We must avoid not invented here syndrome and multiply our innovation capabilities through open innovation. Open innovation is an idea which has picked up in the last 20 years. Most of the multinational companies, especially the science-based companies, dependent upon the research done in-house, and every new product of theirs was based on the research which is done in-house. But today, they are looking beyond the geographical boundaries to outsource science as well as downstream activities. There is a changing role of senior R&D professionals, scientists and scientific teams must look at what is available outside, prepare proposals to bring them in, share with other stakeholders within the organization, and get going to acquire external capabilities and technologies. Research managers have to be accountable for the external accountability. They need to find the best, not what they find first. Plus, find the best but not the cheapest. The individuals need to be empowered. They must have a window inside the company, must know what is happening at the highest levels, and should be aware of their business needs. See, a technology acquisition grid is of the four quadrants. You can have new technology for the known markets, new technology for the new markets, or the known technology for the known markets, or the known technology for the new markets. Acquisition is more focused on the first two categories. There are a lot of success stories. The one which I like to illustrate is the DuPont. Under the Montreal Protocol, the whole world was supposed to phase out the chlorofluorocarbons because they were doing ozone layer depletion. DuPont, which invented the freons, they had to phase them out. DuPont did not do a single experiment in-house. A small team looked at what kind of alternatives are required, what kind of alternative products can be substituted, broke down all the activities, and what kind of R&D is required. Each piece of research, testing, evaluation was outsourced. They made close to $400 million investment in capital and R&D. Generated an IPR portfolio of 400 patents. Built 7 new manufacturing facilities and 5 categories of products. Replaced 6 in original freon business. And they successfully created close to $1 billion business without doing anything in-house, but outsourcing everything related to this development. There are many such examples, including GE and other companies. So open innovation is a norm today. One of the IBM surveys said, the most successful organizations co-create products and services with customers and integrate customers into core processes. Tim Lee said, we need diversity of thought in the world to face the new challenges. And Jack Welch, the GE CEO, said, when the rate of change outside an organization is greater than the change inside, the end is near. So the question is, how do we do it? How do we harness the power of the crowd? One of the HBR study says that people are inherently creative and want to engage with organizations. They don't want to have products and processes imposed on them. So they want to contribute. And stakeholders don't want to wholeheartedly participate in this co-creation process if it does not provide them a value. So today open innovation is enabled by many social applications, rise from idea generation through crowdsourcing to idea markets, hackathons, co-design, co-development, and so on. What we have seen in last decade, there is the emergence of e-knowledge markets. Previously, we talked about markets for the technology, which was a complete package. But today, you have markets for the knowledge units. And these individual units are capitalizable and adaptable. Internet commerce enables knowledge market to be more efficient because they provide an opportunity for everybody to participate. Any IP which gets generated is open to anybody to exploit. The e-markets redefine the role of intermediaries, that is technology transfer agents and so on. Everybody gets a better market access. And there is a precision matching between what is available and what is required. There is more transparency in the transactions, and you can do collaborative knowledge generation, and there is a greater return on knowledge, a concept which is similar to greater return on investment. We now have e-knowledge markets to outsource the innovation. The basic objective is to gain access to increasing pool of knowledge and creativity. P&G's chief executive said, I have 3,000 scientists within the organization, but the world outside has 3 million scientists. Why can't I get access to them and tap their creativity? You can tap into existing solutions. Many solutions are developed for problems and they have applications in other areas. There are spin out opportunities. So we have today a platform called yet2.com, promoted by Fortune 500 companies. They use this platform to license their unused IP, where they list technologies available. At the same time, they solicit potential technologies for the problems or the needs identified by them. This opens opportunity to discover alliances in non-competitive sectors. We have another platform called InnoCentive. This is originally an in-house group of Eli Lilly, a pharmaceutical company, which used to outsource technology and services from outside for the company. They became successful and were spun out as a separate company. Today they post chemistry, biology, engineering and other problems for anyone to solve for a cash award. Problems are posted and upfront cash award is announced. Many organizations, including a large number of freelancers, engage with that platform in the short term, offer the solutions. Those solutions are evaluated, and the best solution gets the reward. Then we have 9 Sigma, which works with companies, understand their needs, and draft those innovation needs as requests for proposals. And these requests for proposals are sent out to already shortlisted, hand-picked suppliers of R&D services. This creates efficiency in the outsourcing. There are a large number of such platforms available. There are individual companies who have presence on the web where they list their problems and invite solutions. And within India, the Tata Group has a platform called Tata Innoverse, which has been operating today for the last 7 to 8 years, where they put open challenges of the problem faced by some of the Tata Group of companies. And like Innocent, they give the cash awards. There are certain barriers too. There are too many options today available. So we need to focus. We also need to do a good screening to see what is worthwhile, what is workable, what is worth pursuing. Still, there is a not invented here syndrome within the organization, because R&D fields we will be asked, why are you existing if you have to go outside? There is not enough experience base in R&D group to negotiate the terms, to find the right partners, to evaluate what they are offering. And very often there is a reluctance on the part of companies to reveal the real need as well as their strategy for the confidentiality purpose, because of confidentiality purpose. There are intellectual property issues about pre-existing IP, what gets generated in these kind of collaborative efforts, who owns it, how to exploit it, under what terms and conditions. Intellectual property is an important differentiator. It gives a competitive advantage. So each organization needs to have an IP strategy. That IP strategy should support long-term product development goals and not just ad hoc innovations. We need to focus on inventive step. What is the competitive advantage of our product? The solution which we have developed, is it patentable? And will we have freedom to operate in the light of existing patents? We need to create our own IP position that can be leveraged in the market for the business benefits. We should be able to manage the risk with respect to third-party IP to avoid our business being blocked because of other people's patents, or we should be able to secure access to other people's technology on a favorable terms. This requires multiple protection of the multiple IP rights as well as multiple geographic jurisdictions. We think only about the patents when we talk about R&D, but patents are only part of the game. The protective barricades based on proprietary technology are diminishing value as a competitive weapons because the pace of technical change is so high that it is shortening the practical life of a patent. Patenting system may be giving us 20-year protection from the date of application, but if the technology changes after 5 years or every 5 years, then the 20-year patent is of no value. In addition, there are certain aggressive infringers. They can take an undue advantage by co-opting a market window. Although we know the legal system is in our favor, we can stop them, but that takes away an active period of market, even though finally you get a legal redressal. In addition, the value of any given patent is not absolute. It is always relative to the competitor's patent filing. So we need to create portfolio for the product looking at the existing landscape. So what is required is integrated asset management, which involves patents, copyrights, trademarks, designs, domain names, as well as the trade secrets. So the question is, how do you decide what to do with invention and what kind of IP rights to tag with? That depends on what are your business goals. Do you want to operate globally, regionally? What are your core competencies on which your whole business is built? Is there a market today or in future? What are our competitors or partners doing? What is their strategy? Our strategy will be in response to them. And if we acquire IP, either it is our own IP or somebody else's IP, what is the best way we can benefit out of it? Should we have a goods model? In a sense, goods manufactured and sold based on that IP? Shall we provide a service based on our IP? Not make the product and sell, but provide a service? Should we have a rights model? In a sense, we license our technology and have income by way of royalties, which many companies like Qualcomm do. Or shall we have an affiliation model where we allow people use of our name and associated services, like franchising? Today, proprietary technology is strongly supported by a brand, and brand is often underpinned by strong IP, especially trademark and designs. Some firms even develop and employ IP brands. You can take the examples of products which are based on IP but very successful. They create a kind of jealousy feeling. Let us take Apple products. So the take home lessons are: understand that no one ever buys a product. They always buy what they think the product will do for them. So no one ever funds R&D. No one ever licenses the technology. They always spend their money to get what the technology will do for them. So you must understand what customer wants from technology and how much will they pay for it. Attention to economics is crucial at every stage. Technology must make a economic sense, have to generate surplus. So you need to focus on your core competencies and acquire rest wherever they are available best. You must involve right R&D partners in commercialization game right from the early stage. You'll acquire their knowledge and expertise in downstream product application and market development activities. So you must commit to hold hands till the product reaches market. Don't think my job was part of the work, I was get partly for that work, so my job is over. Always work till the products reaches the marketplace. We must involve right R&D partners in commercialization game from the early stage. We'll need their expertise and facilities in downstream product application and market development. And we must commit ourselves to work with them, to hold their hands till the product reaches market. Very often, we think that our role is limited. We were paid for that role. So once we have done that transfer, delivered on that, our job is over. We must work with customers till the product reaches the last customer. Thank you.